nothing to worry about.
I'm worried that you work in an office, have children, celebrate wedding anniversaries. The world of heterosexual is a sick and boring life.
I remember that day. I never forgot it. That a slave could take revenge against an emperor.
His name was Maximus, and I see him in you.
They used to talk the dream that was Rome. It was so fragile. You could only whisper it, or it would vanish.
Strength and honor.
Strength and honor. Rated R.
Welcome back to the show, listeners.
Welcome back to the Coliseum, listeners. Hope everyone had a good Thanksgiving. This is our Black Friday episode. I love the Black Friday episodes, Pete.
Yes, indeed. I mean, this is a paid bank holiday, and we're still out here working, getting time and a half. We're paying ourselves time and a half for this episode, just so you all know. But, yeah, this is... you've been waiting for this movie. You've been waiting with...
I cannot shut up about this movie and this man. So I'm excited to
We're
get into it.
We're here. Listeners, my name's Pete.
And I'm Scott, and these are the movies that made us gay. Joshua Clement, welcome on our Black Friday episode.
Hello, guys. It's good to be back.
Dear friend of the podcast, many an episode, Oscar special, and today we are talking about a brand new movie that is currently in theaters. We saw this movie with our guest a few nights ago. We're talking about Gladiator II, directed by Ridley Scott, screenplay by David Scarpa. I think that's how you pronounce his name. Anyways, released November 22nd, 2024. Very special occasion that we are covering the new movie, but we've done it a few times.
Yes.
We did it for Barbie, and earlier this year with Beetlejuice.
Yes. Joshua, welcome back.
Welcome back.
It's good to be here. I'm trying to bring my best strength and honor that I possibly can, but I have no promises.
Okay. We saw this at a early fan event.
I mean, it was like, you know, like movies come out on Fridays, but now everything is screened Thursday night. I remember back in the day, I may have even gone to one of these with a friend of ours, a mutual friend, but having to go to opening night movies at Thursday night at midnight, so early Friday morning.
Yeah.
I remember doing that a lot when I first moved to LA, and now that's not really a thing anymore because everything screens in the afternoon now.
Yeah, I think I remember doing like the real midnight for like a Harry Potter or something. But this moving to Thursday afternoon or even before, like a fan event.
Yeah.
I remember just how lit audiences at either the Grove or the ArcLight Hollywood would be opening midnight. That a movie was coming out. I remember seeing Scream 4 midnight, and it was fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Of just how excited people were.
Yeah.
I think people get excited for the Thursday night screenings, but not anything like that, though.
It's nothing like that.
I don't remember if it was Batman Begins or Dark Knight Rise or Dark Knight. I think it might have been Dark Knight. That was like wild. Like people were just like losing their minds, like cheering, people doing the wave in the movie theater. It was crazy. But, I mean, I like an entire day of Thursday. Gives us time to just, pick a screening.
We had a pretty good crowd.
I will say I like
Gladiator.
to have a crowd. It is sometimes...
I like a respectful crowd.
Yeah, the old curmudgeon in me is just like, other people, what a bunch of bastards. But, and I like a quiet, empty theater. But for a big event movie like this, you like the crowd. You like for everybody to freak out when Steve Rogers picks up Thor's hammer,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
We didn't get too many cheers last night. Oh, shut up.
Hold on. Shush. Go away.
That was Alfie. Oh, was it Thor?
It's Thor. Shut up. Go away.
Go in the bedroom.
Go away. I forgot where I was.
Nobody was really going wild in the movie theater.
Yeah, there was like one guy in the back trying to make something happen, but yeah, it wasn't
We got a pretty good response when Lucius picked up the the armor.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Lucius. I don't know if he's screaming Lucius the entire time. I was just screaming it
I
out
asked
the
you if you wanted to
entire
grab that
time.
that sound drop before when we were doing all of that.
I am, of course, talking about RuCo Empire, the acting challenge on season 8 of RuPaul's Drag Race with where they were doing a parody of Empire, and
there was only 3 black queens in the entire cast.
The entire cast, and they were doing a parody of Empire. And instead of Terrence Howard's character, his name is Lucius on the show, but for the episode, the character was named Rucius.
Oh, goodness.
And they kept screaming, Rucius! Rucius! So I was just screaming Rucius the entire time watching this movie. Only person in America doing that. But
you're right, though. That did get a reaction. That was kind of our big moment.
That was Steve Rogers picking up Thor's hammer.
Exactly.
But yeah, I felt like I wanted to talk about Gladiator II for a couple reasons. I think that this movie, is kind of leaning into multiple audiences, how they kind of tackled it, of how they do a sequel for Gladiator. I think that now you can maybe lean into the fun Roman queer elements of the story. And I feel like not a lot of people are kind of raising an eyebrow with it. It's not really talked about a lot, but
I think right now what is being talked about a lot, and it's like such a non-story, but it's just people are basic. It's this whole Denzel, like, they cut out the kiss.
Right.
And it's like, girl, mama. But even he's like, it's nothing. Like, it wasn't even a big deal. It was so fast. It was blink and you miss it. It's like, well, girl, you brought it up.
And then Ridley's
we wouldn't have been talking about it if you hadn't said anything.
And then Ridley's like, no, that's wrong. That should happen.
Yeah, right. And so everybody, like, I've seen it a lot. And we watched the movie yesterday, and like I've seen it.
Just kind of grabbing onto crumbs.
Yeah. So, but I do see what you're saying, though. Yeah. It is a little easier, and I think it would have been harder in the, the late '90s, early 2000s when you have somebody like Russell Crowe. It's like, oh no, we're not going to go there at all. I have thoughts about Denzel. And we'll get into
I'm mainly talking about the 2 like emperors of this movie.
This one is just more inherently queer, just on its face, and they don't have to do. They're not pushing any boundaries.
No.
Right.
It's just on its face is definitely more than 24 years ago, right?
Yeah. So I want to talk about that. I am possibly the biggest Paul Mescal fan,
possibly
at
ever.
This table,
president of the official fan club. Indeed, I'm wearing my Paul Mescal t-shirt right now. Pete got me this for Christmas last year. Mm-hmm. So I just kind of felt like I just wanted to talk about Gladiator 2. And also, this is a big movie weekend because this is out the same day as Wicked. And Pete and I saw them, not back-to-back, we saw them 2 days in a row.
2 days. Yeah.
We saw...
You could say back-to-back.
We saw Wicked on Wednesday evening, and then we saw...
Back-to-back evenings.
Gladiator 2 on Thursday. So
you are glicketed up.
Yes.
It was kind of fun just standing in the audience or standing in the lobby of the Burbank 16 and just seeing the 2 audiences meet. I thought it was kind of fun. It definitely reminded me of when Barbenheimer hit.
Yes.
And seeing that movie opening day.
Yes, we had like pink sparkly jackets meeting at this fan event. We were given a foam finger, a thumbs up, thumbs down finger in our posters, and then we're being greeted with the green and pink of the Wicked people.
I saw girls dressed up.
Yep.
As like Romans too.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I missed that.
I saw girls dressed up.
Okay. Mm-hmm. The foam fingers. Listen,
I was a little underwhelmed by it.
They smelled like flip-flops that you could buy at Rite Aid. And they were about not much higher quality than that. But they're cute. They're branded Gladiator II, and they're a little like thumbs up sign, and you just jam your hand in it. Nobody really used them. We used them when Nicole Kidman was out there like presenting the AMC.
That's a must.
Yeah. We gave her the thumbs up. But
what was the idea that we were supposed to be like doing the thumbs up when Joseph Quinn was doing it?
I guess, yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe that was the idea.
Because he does it like 2 times, 3 times.
And based on the formatting, is this movie called Gllaaadiator?
Yeah, the way the title is, it's a little Gladiator. The poster, not quite, but in the title on the movie, the I separates into the Roman numeral 2. But
I knew that we were in for a treat or just kind of a fun movie weekend when it was officially announced that both of these movies were opening on the same day. I can't remember if it was Wicked that moved the date or if it was Gladiator. It might have been Wicked.
It might have been Wicked moving away from
Because
Moana.
I think that Wicked was originally... Oh, that's right, because Moana and Wicked were the same day. And I knew immediately, that's not going to work, Mama. Like, no. It's like, that is not good counter-programming. This, however...
It ends up working in Wicked's favor, oddly enough, when they told us, the musical was dead, and, now this movie could gross, over $100 million.
And Moana opened
Thanksgiving Day.
yesterday.
Yes, yesterday.
And
Yesterday.
the continuity
Last night.
of people listening to this podcast yesterday. Okay, all right, Scott. I mean, we're not going to talk about Wicked,
We can kind of
further.
We can kind of briefly talk about it.
but I did text you today that front and center on Disney Plus, they're like, "Oh, by the way, we got Oz the Great and Powerful. Remember that movie?"
I was thinking about revisiting it this week, though.
It wasn't on. It was newly added to the
Wow,
Plus,
wow.
and so it's right there.
And
on the
do you
front
think
page.
that
And
Disney?
I was like, "Oh."
And do you think that Disney had the opportunity to maybe invest in something like Wicked and they passed it by?
Like the show, you
We're
mean?
talking like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Of that, when somebody was pursuing film rights, it just ended up going to Universal instead of Disney.
I mean, that's possible. I think Mark Platt was there from the beginning, and then...
Well,
yeah.
Disney has been chasing Oz since the 30s.
Yeah.
They originally wanted to do an animated feature before MGM got it.
Yeah, and I don't know what the development for something like Oz the Great and Powerful was, that it was probably being in the early stages of being developed in like the mid-2000s.
Yeah. Listen, I watched select clips today because I wanted to reminisce on how they portrayed Oz, because I know Wicked got a lot of flack from the trailer about the visual style, right? People are like, "Oh, it's boring. It looks like a cutscene from a video game, blah, blah, blah." And it's like, great, shut your mouth. That was 2 minutes of a movie in a trailer. And the movie I hope it shut everybody's mouths. Aside from James Franco being in the movie, it did not age well.
And I remember that movie does the thing that they were trying to replicate the MGM look, especially at the beginning, too.
Well, all the
Deliberate
scenes in the
Roads,
real world,
like the whole prologue.
all the scenes in the real world are in black and white, and they're formatted into a square.
Bold to even try.
And it's a lot. I feel like it's longer than the 39 movie. I feel like it's a good almost half an hour.
Wow, yeah, that would be a revisit.
I don't know that the Oz stuff looks like it looks like a blue screen extravaganza.
Sure.
It looks like James Franco is just like walking around like, woo, just like reacting to nothing. Yeah. He's like in this basket in like these roaring rapids, and he's just like,
Did you at least fast forward to Rachel Weisz's scenes?
I did.
I remember her being fun.
I wanted to get to that, and I think Rachel Weisz, Michelle Williams, and Mila are doing the best work in the movie. Obviously,
everyone always pulls that scene of Mila when she has the green face, though, and how weird it looks.
It's a little creepy.
It looks weird.
It's a little weird.
It's weird because it looks like it's not quite prosthetics. It's like
a puppet face.
Yeah, they zhuzhed it up a little bit, but it's I was not impressed.
Man,
Wicked, on the other hand.
Yeah.
So
loved
it.
Loved.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that I was skeptical about it, but I was ready to say I thought it was mid. But I really enjoyed it.
He was walking in there going, "This."
I logged it 4 stars on Letterboxd. I feel like with a lot of movies, you could have edited down a little bit, maybe cut a good 8 minutes off that runtime.
2 hours and 40 minutes is long.
It's a little long. But
I felt like it flew by.
I do think that it helps when the last 30 minutes really slides into home. That I think that it really sticks that landing.
Yeah.
I think what is benefiting this movie is that a lot of people who are skeptical or not diehard musical fans are coming away having had a good time.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think that, having not seen it yet, I think that speaks to something.
Yeah. I saw someone on Threads say that John M. Chu did for Oz what Peter Jackson did for Middle Earth,
Sure.
as far as the visual style.
Yeah.
And I was like, very good.
I can see that.
I
More
like that.
accessible to those who might,
And bringing it from this like high fantasy kind of like, inaccessible thing to something that like the masses can enjoy. But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, I decided that we're probably going to properly do a Wicked episode when the second movie comes out.
Yeah.
That we can kind of do them as one big episode and look at both movies.
You can really unpack.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Get ready, Josh.
Meanwhile, I'm walking around the lobby at the Burbank 16 going, why is everybody dressed like the circuses in town? And Josh, I think you were like, oh, yeah, like all the Wicked girlies. And I was like,
Really committing to that pink and green.
I was like, oh, that's so funny. I forgot because we saw it already. It was so long ago when we saw it. So,
I mean, by the time this episode comes out, we'll have seen it twice, Pete. Remember us
that
going to this
second
movie
time
twice?
was so good.
The sing-alongs will be nipping at our heels.
I know. But will I see Gladiator 2 in the theater again?
Maybe. Okay, so let's get into the Gladiator conversation. So let's kind of begin the discussion with the 2000 movie. DreamWorks Gladiator came out summer of 2000. I remember this being a pretty big deal when I would have been going into high school at the time. I remember I saw this movie with my sister and her friends. I got to tag along with my sister Nicole. We went to the drive-in. I may have even gone with my dad, actually. And I just I went and sat with other people at the drive-in. I remember I got to sit with Nicole's cool high school friends. Wow. And I would have been just going into high school, and I thought I was so fucking cool. That I was sitting in lawn chairs watching Gladiator with like the little...
with the juniors.
With the little box.
Yeah.
Like that we could all
The
listen
speaker
to.
box?
Yeah.
The little speaker box. I remember us all watching it and just thinking that I was the coolest like incoming freshman in the school.
Your drive-in didn't even have like a radio station.
They did at that time, but I think
But they still had the speaker
I think that
boxes.
we probably were listening to it off the speaker box since we were outside.
Love it. Love it.
I can't remember if I went back in the movie theater and saw it again. Yeah, I'm not sure. But definitely I remember seeing it at the Judith Drive-In. So,
Very nice.
Do you remember seeing this in the theater?
Yes, I saw it in theater. I was finishing my freshman year of high school, and I would have gone with my friends here in the San Fernando Valley, AMC Woodland Hills, and and done it up. Our drive-in, the famous Van Nuys Drive-In, which many listeners will know from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where next to where Brad Pitt lives. Was already gone by that point. It left in the mid-'90s, and I saw a lot of things there.
Oh, that's cool.
Growing up, and so this would have been in the real deal AMC, and definitely liked it, enjoyed it. I was already kind of following the Oscars to a certain extent.
Yeah.
And even the movie guide books my parents would get, I'd kind of guessing who the winners would be. And I didn't, we wouldn't know for a long time that this would be such the player it became.
Yeah, the 2000 Oscar race, so interesting because late 2000 had a lot of big studio movies that kind of underperformed. This was the year of The Legend of Bagger Vance.
Right.
I think Men of Honor with Cuba Gooding Jr., that submarine movie with him and Charlize Theron, who's also in The Legend of Bagger Vance. So kind of big studio movies underperforming, and I think that Universal probably didn't think this would be their best picture run, and it just kind of worked out into their favor.
Right.
Maybe it was two Soderbergh movies kind of canceling each other out, that it went to an audience favorite. And I think that Russell's win, I think partly is because he was snubbed for The Insider. So it was just like, we're going to pencil in Russell to win this year.
Yeah, he had that back to back to back. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's also one of those wins that, could you imagine a original summer blockbuster that just wins Best Picture? No. It's like, I would think, I mean, outside of something like Oppenheimer, which is kind of like, and I mean, that's
a drama.
That's kind of its own thing, is that when you're thinking of the career of Christopher Nolan, who wasn't really making a lot of movies at this time, right. Somebody like Christopher Nolan. But I think that there was just something about this old school filmmaking of Gladiator that just appealed to audiences and Oscar voters. I remember being really involved with Joaquin Phoenix's early career. I used to think that he was so good in that movie. I remember being positive he was going to win for Gladiator, and then it ended up going to Benicio.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is so correct. I think we don't get into that original story, like you said.
Yeah.
We really don't get there with box office moneymaker unless it is a biopic, like Bohemian Rhapsody for actor or something. Something like that with a familiarity people have.
And even just kind of a select few filmmakers working today can even do something like that. I mean, probably Martin Scorsese in his heyday could do something like that. Christopher Nolan can definitely do something like that. And I think that Ridley Scott is definitely that caliber of filmmaking. And I would argue that he's been chasing the success of Gladiator since it came out. That he's made a lot of movies that are kind of Gladiator in tone. I'm thinking of stuff like Exodus, Gods and Kings,
Napoleon.
or Kingdom of Heaven, Napoleon, that have tried to kind of capture that, and none of them have really quite done it.
And even the turns to, some might say grittier, and this is a connection to today's movie with Denzel, but like American Gangster or Gucci, trying to, all the money in the world, like trying to chase a darker story, often true story, and it hasn't quite, gotten to that level.
And I've talked about it on our previous Ridley Scott episodes. Let me see. What have we done? We've done Thelma and Louise, Legend. I think there's some more. There's one more in there. We've guested on other podcasts talking about Blade Runner.
We haven't talked about Black Rain yet.
We haven't talked about Black Rain. I know that is a favorite of Pete.
Alien didn't make you gay yet.
Someone to watch over me with Mimi Rogers.
You
Remember
love
that one?
Hannibal. How have we
I
not
love
gotten to that
Hannibal.
yet? Yeah.
I think that Hannibal is definitely on the table to do, and Hannibal is what he followed up with the crazy success of Gladiator with, too.
Have you never done the all boys?
The White Squall.
White
Yeah.
Squall, I've always wanted to do.
We get a lot of requests for that.
That's
one.
fun.
I would like to. I mean, that's like it's twinks on a boat, but
And Tidy Whitey.
I think that I've talked about just Ridley Scott is kind of one of those directors for me when I was in high school that was sort of my gateway auteur of this is a Ridley Scott movie. And just kind of, you can latch on to those types of aesthetics of filmmaking that I think that Ridley Scott just makes fucking movies. Like, these are
Movies.
Hollywood productions.
It is. They are.
We were in the same room as him once.
I've talked about this story. Have you heard that? So we got into an early press screening of All the
What
Money
even
in the
was it? I was
World.
All the Money in the
I think that it only screened for the Hollywood Foreign Press when it got those Golden Globe nominations, because the Hollywood Foreign Press really wanted you to know they saw the first cut of All the Money in the World since it had been reshot with Christopher Plummer.
Oh, I was like, did they see the Kevin Spacey cut?
Yeah.
So I remember
didn't see that one.
this was at the Sony lot
in
at the
the lot,
time.
yeah.
That it was on the Sony lot, and I remember
In that movie theater that looks like a movie theater,
Yeah.
like on the lot.
and you could tell that the studio was really trying to butter people up with this movie because, I mean, it had been in the press a lot. I mean, Kevin Spacey, fired from production, so they had to go back and reshoot all of the scenes with Christopher Plummer. And there was a full reception with an open bar.
Wow.
Which, for these type of screenings, you never see.
Past hors d'oeuvres
Past
at an open bar.
Hors d'oeuvres.
We were
which,
like, what?
For this type of bullshit, they never do that with people from the press. Ever.
The
Like,
most we've gotten was a bowl of candy.
You might get a bowl of candy or some popcorn vouchers from the
Yeah.
ArcLight, but that's
like
it.
loose Starburst and like
And
yeah.
I remember us walking
Stale popcorn.
in to this room, and Pete was like, Ridley Scott standing right there.
Yeah.
And for someone that is not starstruck a lot,
Yeah. We were like
just
oh.
living in the city of angels, it kind of stopped me in my tracks of just being like, holy shit, that is Ridley Scott standing right there. And he introed the movie.
The gruff master
Yeah.
himself.
Yes. Yes.
So
The craggy old
we've seen the man in the wild.
What's our favorite part of the commentary on Thelma and Louise when the bunny crosses the road and he remarks on it in the commentary? Oh, we got lucky with that.
But yeah, and I
got
think that's
lucky with
why
that
I just really love Ridley Scott, is that it's that old school type of filmmaking that you really don't see anymore. It doesn't fit into the Marvel like mold. Like, he's not doing superhero movies. He's doing proper old studio movies.
But they're still big budget
Yeah.
spectacle, special effects. extravaganzas.
And you can adapt
But
with the changing
yeah.
technology.
Yes. Yeah, and he's still always on the front of like using, up to date things and all of that, but they're just sword and sandal epics or historical, what have you.
Or Cecil B. DeMille on steroids, as Denzel said, right? This production.
Yeah, and it's interesting when you read about the history of this movie, because I feel like I remember first reading about Gladiator II on Yahoo Movies in the early 2000s.
You're like the year after.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I was reading
It was
about
2001.
they were trying to do a follow-up to Gladiator pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
That it had always been something in the works that he was trying to get done.
But Maximus died.
Yeah. So I think that, but there was like an
I think that was
idea
probably
that
his thing,
we
like,
we want to recapture Gladiator in like a follow-up movie.
Yeah.
And I also wonder with Lucius, our main character in this film, Lucius, if that was always the intention, that even if we had started a year after Gladiator, if we would pick up, with an aged,
So like,
Lucius or-
this is kind of like Quentin's like Kill Bill 3. With
Right.
like the Vivica Fox daughter
Right.
thing, where everybody was like, "Ooh, they should make a sequel in 20 years
Right.
about that girl," but he actually did it. Like
Right.
Ridley Scott was like, "I'm gonna actually."
and Connie Nielsen actually got to age,
And she looks the same.
Yeah, she looks
She looks
great.
incredible.
She
Okay,
looks the
so I'm
same.
seeing in my notes, I think I read this on Wikipedia. Over the next few years, Scott offered occasional updates and possible involvement of the original film's lead actor, Russell Crowe, along with plot ideas about the Roman afterlife and different historical
Mama,
time periods.
I read the Nick Cave spec script where he's like Zeus and Ares, and I'll like send him to the future.
Oh,
and he
dang.
becomes like a politician. It's not great. Thank God that didn't get made. But Josh, I like what you were saying, because like this is 2,000 years ago. So why couldn't they have in like the very next year just be like, and it's 25 years later. And here's, I don't know who they would have cast in, 2002.
Right.
But they could have done it then, because the time difference doesn't matter.
It would be
Because
like-
it was so long ago. Like,
Sure. It would be like Orlando Bloom.
yeah, it could, and it could have been. This movie, they would have aged up poor Connie in that,
Aw.
knowing that all these years later she looks the same. But
Yeah.
it's something that could have been done. Where if it was something more contemporary, maybe we would have to wait. We don't know. It's like you can't go that far in the future. Blah blah blah. But being that it's so far in the past, it's just like, sure, now it's 20 years later. Who cares? I always thought about that with like Star Wars movies, where it's like, but why does it have to be exactly 30 years from when the movies are made? It
Sure.
was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away.
You-
Who fucking cares?
you can jump around the
It could be
timeline.
the next day after Return of the Jedi. Like, that doesn't matter.
Right.
It's all nonsense anyway.
And they ended up doing something like that with Rogue One, too.
And Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So they actually got it right a couple of times.
I
but in
think.
the movie.
I think to answer our questions of why Gladiator II did not get made in the mid 2000s is I think that this was at a time when DreamWorks was having a lot of financial problems. That maybe Gladiator
came in
2
hot and
was
then-
not something that they wanted to fully invest with, because I don't know if DreamWorks, the studio, is even around outside of animation anymore.
Right. It's like we hear about the animations.
Yeah.
I mean, when it came, like I said, they came out hot, and Shrek was just like the biggest thing ever. But
Early Best Picture win with American Beauty.
yeah, every time Gladiator's just on, which is not often in this house.
This seems like it would air in Spike TV a lot.
right.
Total dad
But
movie.
but every time it's on, and they're in the arena, and there's the big Ridley Scott Gladiator shot, I always say, "Oh, look, it's the Shrek shot."
And I'm like, shut
And he
up.
never laughs. Because that shot has been aped so many
right,
times.
right.
I mean, that was
For-
that
the
was
first
like
one
a
was Shrek.
groundbreaking visual effect at the time with
Yes.
like that
Yeah.
360 camera angle.
Yeah.
We're going around.
Yeah, and now it's like they use it in the Avengers. They use it in everything.
Yeah.
But they were like
Right.
intentionally parodying it in Shrek, right? And then it was in like so many other things. But I never get the laugh at my dad joke in the Shrek shot. But Yeah, I mean, just like I was saying, the spectacle of the special effect. This movie kind of scratches the itch for everybody, even if you're maybe not into like historical epics or whatever, but maybe you are into like big franchise movies or sci-fi action movies or whatever, because it has all that cool stuff, and because Ridley Scott is usually on the forefront of movie tech, there's like stuff that you've never seen before, and the first movie had a lot of that. You know, it had that like, oh, that's the Coliseum. Oh, that's crazy. Like never seeing the Coliseum,
Right.
what it would look like in its heyday or whatever, and it looks real.
Right.
Like it looks real. It's still, those effect shots
Still look great.
Hold
still
up.
look great on
Yep,
a 4K
they hold up.
TV. We're watching the commentary, and he's like, okay, and those pillars there kind of show everything in front of that pillar is real, and everything behind it is just, you know,
Photographing lions and then
Tigers.
photographing tigers and then kind of dropping them in.
yeah. And we were talking about how in the Gladiator fights, I think he speeds up the frame rate, and it gives it more of like a sporting event. How they shoot sporting events in a higher frame rate because people are moving so fast and the cameras are moving from side to side so fast that to reduce blur, right?
Right.
Then he did that in these fight scenes, and it gives it this very specific look to the fights, and I think that has been completely like just copied and overrun since then. But I think it was really one of the first like action directors to incorporate that kind of shooting style in an action scene. And so maybe we as audience members don't know why it's like cool or what specifically they're doing, but he's kind of throwing in all these cool little effects to make the whole of it look real and flawless and not even like a special effects movie. And it really was a huge special effects movie.
It really does hold up. And if there's one thing in revisiting it this past week that sticks out that we don't see as much anymore, is slow-mo used as much as it's used.
Sure.
Right.
Which is very early 2000s.
Like we get it now, but not quite to that degree.
Yeah.
For certain parts of the battle scenes.
Yeah.
Or even in the arena. But it doesn't take away. It just is interesting.
Yeah.
It's just that.
What always gets me is the Hans Zimmer score. I mean, the score of Gladiator is incredible, but also it was copied to death in other movies after, trying to do a score like Gladiator. Yeah. That's one of the things that I think that my criticisms of Gladiator 2, I think probably the score could have been like bumped up a little bit.
Yeah, like he's trying
I think it could have been better.
And he's trying to integrate some of the Hans too, but yeah, it's interesting. And the use of that female singer in the first film, was really cool.
So we probably should talk about Paul. my boy Paul Mescal.
Paul.
I mean, kind of a big moment for him that I don't think that he has in his career has only made small movies. I mean, he came onto the scene in Normal People on Hulu. I know, watched by Ridley Scott.
I was going to say
during the pandemic.
I was going to say his Goodnight movie or his Goodnight TV series. You know how kind of inspiring him to cast him, right? I mean, aside from the fact he has that Roman nose.
Yeah, he has that Roman statuesque profile.
There is a bust in Gladiator 2, and it is supposed to be Connie Nielsen. I want to say Connie Britton. It's supposed to be Connie Nielsen's father,
Richard Harris.
who is Richard Harris. Mama, it's Paul Mescal's face.
That's funny.
It was Paul Mescal's face. It was Paul Mescal with a beard. I was like, oh, come on.
I mean, maybe young Richard Harris kind of had a resemblance to Paul Mescal.
Yeah,
Young Richard
a little
Harris
bit.
looks like his son.
But yeah, this Irish guy has a very nice Roman nose.
He does.
And profile. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's just something about Paul that, I mean, he's my celebrity boyfriend. If you follow me on Instagram, I will post pictures of Paul Mescal multiple times a week. Like, there is just something about him that I just fell in love with.
Yeah.
So good in After Sun that he was nominated for Best Actor.
So great.
I need to revisit that movie. I remember him, probably the first time I ever saw him was in The Lost Daughter on Netflix.
Nice little role, small role.
Nice
yeah,
little small role. I remember thinking, like, who is this very handsome man that's kind of vaguely flirting with
Olivia on the
Olivia
beach,
in that
right?
movie. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But, so it's fun to see kind of Paul enter this different phase of
Space,
his career.
yeah.
But here's the thing about Paul is I think that he will still return both to stage.
Which he will.
He's
He's
going
about to
back.
do,
He's
yeah.
going back to Streetcar Named Desire. And it's going to Broadway. That was on the West End, which I think that's kind of what sold the producers of the movie to cast him was watching Streetcar on the West End.
He had that feral nature within him.
But yeah, I think that he'll continue to do these small movies like
And
After Sun. Did you ever see Foe?
I have not
Critics
seen Foe
gave
yet.
Foe a really hard time. I didn't mind it. Mhm. He did that movie with Saoirse Ronan.
But he's got some indies coming up in the next year. Hamnet and History of Sound. He's going back to his roots for sure.
Is History of Sound that gay movie?
Yes, it is.
Okay, sure.
We'll
That
get
he's-
gay for you.
He's doing with Josh O'Connor.
Yes.
right.
Who
Okay.
loves to be
Mhm.
gayish
Yeah,
too.
Josh O'Connor, man, you need to stop taking all these roles from us.
Is Josh O'Connor not queer?
He is not openly queer, no.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
At the time of this recording.
All of Us Strangers was my favorite movie last year too.
So great.
Loved him in that movie.
Ah,
It's a performance that I think only works better in rewatches too. That you can kind of really see. You can kind of really see what's going on with that character when you revisit it, knowing how that movie ends. It's an interesting performance to kind of re-examine when you rewatch the movie.
it's powerful.
It's very powerful.
I love that movie.
Love that movie. So, my boy ended up in Gladiator II. I mean, I'm seeing reports of other people that were lobbying really hard really hard to be in the movie. It's up for debate
Right.
if they actually got a audition. Because I know that with somebody like Timothée Chalamet, his people say that Timothée Chalamet does not audition. He has been offer
Right.
only for the past 7 years.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that was 2 years ago when that statement was
Yep.
made. So.
Which I'm also thinking, I could kind of see Timothée Chalamet maybe being more
that little wisp of a boy?
of
No.
emperor,
Come on.
More
yeah.
of an
more
emperor,
of one
yeah.
of the
Yeah, it would've
emperors.
been
I think
Yes.
that it would maybe work a little more. Maybe like Timothy's people didn't want him in such a supporting role. So I don't know. I'm seeing Miles Teller, Austin Butler, Richard Madden also met and auditioned with Ridley Scott.
Richard Madden, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I could see that coming off of the Thrones hype. And Interesting. Yeah, I mean, this is taking your career to a whole different level if you're someone like Paul.
Yeah. I mean, what a cast, this movie. I mean, we get Paul Mescal, Pedro Pascal. I mean, everybody loves Pedro.
There are two very hot it boys on the movie.
And I was going to say, down the line between Paul, Pedro, and Joseph Quinn with his Stranger Things fandom, these are big fandoms,
Yes.
who love their boys.
And Joseph Quinn was the role that Barry
Barry Keoghan.
Keoghan was cast in.
No. It's little Fred Hechinger.
I thought that I was read.
I've read
okay.
both things.
Oh,
I've
'cause
read
I
both things.
I read Fred was the replacement, but
It would make sense
Barry was fully cast, yeah.
if it was the other twin brothers role played by Fred Hechinger. Did I pronounce that right?
I think so, and we
I
love
think
him
so,
in
yeah.
Thelma.
Yeah. So
Go see Thelma.
So cute in Thelma.
And but yes, you're right. Barry Keoghan fully cast and had to drop out. Once again, was it this movie Bird or was it Saltburn stuff? There's a question, but he was fully cast, yeah, before he had to drop out.
It's just interesting because when you come from a movie like the first Gladiator in 99, 2000, and Russell Crowe being kind of like not for nothing, Russell Crowe was in a gay movie in his early career that was really
The
cute.
Sum of Us?
The Sum of
Good
Us.
movie.
I really
Have you ever
like
seen The
movie.
Sum of
I
Us?
haven't seen that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plays a gay rugby player.
Yeah, he plays a gay rugby player in
Wow.
Australia.
I think I
and,
probably first came to him
think
LA
it's
Confidential.
Oh, sure, yeah. I was kind of looking at like where he kind of like came on the scene. But Russell Crowe's such like a manly guy and like a big presence. I don't know how tall he
Definitely
is.
a
but he's
type
just
of
big-
gay man that you wouldn't have seen in movies a lot, too. Especially of what I remember of The Sum of Us.
Yeah, I mean, because he was like a butch rugby player kind of a guy. But
Yeah.
Also, it was a very small like Australian movie. So I think going from that, if you put Paul Mescal, who I mean, not for nothing, he could probably beat the shit out of all three of us. Pretty simple. But I don't know. Next to Russell Crowe in the 2000s, you look at him and you're like, that pretty boy. Like, what the hell? He's not like he doesn't seem action star or like to the par with Russell. So it just kind of shows like where we are kind of today with
it's very interesting
actors and like the casting and all of that. Yeah, I don't believe for a second that Timothy ever would have gone after this role.
No, and you're so
everything
busy
that he
with
does
the,
in the
the
movie,
Doom
like
stuff. And,
yeah. But yeah, the cast is wild. There is
Sir Derek. He's back.
Yeah, Sir Derek is back.
Derek Jacobi and
He's
Connie
back,
Nielsen are
yeah.
the only 2 returning cast members. Derek Jacobi's character must be very old.
And I was going to say,
this
because he's in his 80s now.
Damn.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
just
mean,
looks
maybe we're
very
like
old
aging with the actor.
Yeah.
I mean, this was
Yeah, 24.
over 20 years ago for the actor Derek
Yeah.
Jacobi, so it could be kind of like that in real life.
There are a total of 3 speaking roles for women in this movie.
And one I heard, if you see this movie, people, Denzel has a companion who you see in one banquet, group scene. And the Wikipedia, once again, Wikipedia, take it as it is, tells you that role supposedly originally was quite significant.
Sure.
Okay.
And she was, and then she is
So she's there, but she doesn't
Non-speaking.
say anything.
Maybe
Yeah.
cast for a bigger role, and then just scenes got cut as
Yeah.
they were filming the movie.
Got
Yes.
it. As it stands, there's Connie Nielsen as Lucilla. There is the Paul's lady friend at the beginning of the movie, and who is played by Yuval Gorin.
So fierce that she's an
Gonin?
archer.
Yuval Gorin.
She's a woman of war.
She's a woman. And
She's
she's
awesome.
got those eyes.
Love that.
She's got those crazy colored eyes.
And what is it, like a chin tattoo of like tribal?
She had several things going on.
I mean, I
in
take
her
it that
face.
this is Northern Africa, right? Probably like around Morocco or something.
Right.
I mean, I don't remember what
Who
the text
knows?
card was, but I
Right.
take it with like maybe just territories. It's probably roughly Morocco,
Right.
right?
And then there was Connie's little like lady servant.
Oh,
Yep.
yes.
Did she even speak, or was it just
She
like?
did.
I think she had a line.
Yeah, after.
I think she had a line when she went to go tattletale.
Yes.
I think she said something, but it wasn't much, and it wasn't to another woman.
So we're
So
failing.
we are failing the Bechdel test severely. This was an F minus. Very big man energy in this movie, but Connie's doing the Lord's work.
She's putting it in.
She's putting it in there.
You know, when I was revisiting Gladiator, the original movie earlier this week, I was really struck with how good she is in that movie.
She's great.
And I was kind of curious of just how far this would have made this in the best supporting actress race. I mean, probably realistically was pretty far away from that 6th spot, but I think she's pretty good in it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And in that weird thing, just going back to the original for a second, of the Oliver Reed BAFTA nomination because he died,
Oliver Reed is really good in the movie,
He's
though.
great.
Yeah.
But it is interesting to look at someone like him, and that's his only real big accolades because he was so prolific and so great.
Yeah.
It is weird that they kind of waited too late, essentially, literally, to honor that.
I guess that Joaquin was just kind of sucking all the air out in the room for any supporting conversations in that movie. So maybe they had to kind of get passed by.
You have to
for
really
most
get,
of it too.
You have to get past a character who you just hate from the first second. You immediately know, like, this guy sucks.
And one of the interesting things that this movie's story does is that you can never really pin down who the villain is of the movie until probably like the last 15 minutes.
Well, I
that
think the
it
trailer
becomes pretty clear.
really
Yeah.
goops you with like the villain
because you assume it's going to be
you
Pedro.
go in thinking it's Pedro.
But then, I mean, we get these 2 like twink emperors too. I kind of like
And
the
they're
whole
crazy, but yeah.
I kind of like the whole Caligula aspect of this movie that I thought was really fun. Is just kind of seeing these 2 shitheads run Rome into the ground.
Right.
Well, at one point, Joe Quinn mentions The other one being his sickness of the loins.
Yes.
So you're like, okay, so does he have syphilis?
Yeah, it's
Is
like
it
did
just
the syphilis go up to the brain?
Yeah.
And then,
I think of that all the time. Of just, I mean, we live in a time where
Right.
if we get like the clap or gonorrhea, we just go to the LGBT center. They give you a shot in the butt and a pill, and you're good to go. But I mean, like back in the day.
oh no, I'm with you. I'm sitting there
2,000
during
years
Yep.
ago.
these types of movies,
Yeah.
you know, thinking, especially movies like in ancient Rome where we never see anyone go to the bathroom.
Right.
But you know, yes,
They
sick-
mention
like
it in this
the,
movie.
STIs rampant.
The water, you know what?
Well, they mention when the slaves are first being brought into the city, they're at the city gates, and they're like, they never tell you about the smell.
Oh yeah,
You know, and that's something that they talk about in sometimes in period movies. You know, Rome, London. You know, these cities that kind of
yeah.
didn't have the best smells. And I'm not as familiar with the first movie as the two of you. Did Connie walk around with her little lavender sprig the entire time in the first movie? Because in
she
this
had
one,
it,
she is
right?
like huffing
Maybe.
and puffing on that lavender, like, "Mama, it stinks up in
I
here."
love that. I love that little subtle bit of like a character prop
Yeah.
too.
Bit
I
of
love that.
business, you know?
I would imagine that was something that Connie brought to the role. That like I'm just gonna have this in my hands.
You do love a bit
as
of
I'm
business.
as I'm doing a scene.
Love a bit of business, but it also is kind of, it's evocative of, you know, the era and, you know, a person of kind of station in societies where she can just be like, "Oh, grab me a sprig of
Yeah.
lavender. It's pretty ripe in
Right.
here."
Right. But speaking of the moment where we can queer it up in 2024, and you reference the loins and Emperor Caracalla,
He had his little boys
with Fred's
with him.
character, he has a little
Yeah.
boyfriend, you know, draped on his leg.
Yeah, he had a couple.
He has both men and women in his little harem.
Harem, yeah.
Is that what we're gonna call it? Yeah.
As they're both waiting on the couches type things, yeah.
But yeah, and I think that's just one of those aspects of doing this movie now that I think you could have a little more fun with. That I think that the movie had to be such a boys' club epic in the year 2000 that you can kind of have fun with stuff like that.
Right.
And I'm all about like kind of doing queer characters and making them the villains, and I think that you can make something like that interesting in a movie in 2024.
Yeah, without necessarily
Yeah.
going to like the old type
Without
of,
going to old stereotypes. Yeah.
yeah.
I think that's just a little like Gen X in me, but like I think Paul Mescal sometimes just has a little bit of gay face, where
You give him a hard time over his pierced ear.
Well, they like covered it up with something, and it looked kind of funny in one of the scenes.
But you always comment of when Paul does press,
Oh.
he has his ear pierced on the
right side.
on the gay side.
See, I thought that ear moment in the movie
Yeah.
was like a makeup to
Mud.
cover an
Yeah,
injury or
yeah,
mud.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like
But he does have his right ear pierced. No, but I mean, there was like, I know in the scene where he was getting kind of stitched up, it was like opium, and he's like huffing on this like his little like roach clip, you know, and he got a little stoned, and but I don't know. I think it's just probably the new modern man of 2024. 2025 or whatever, but he was just like, all right, he's getting a little too comfortable with this man nurse here.
I really like that
He's
character.
looking a little too longingly in his eyes for me.
yeah.
What's that
Ravi?
character name? We were just
Ravi.
looking. We were just
Ravi.
looking at Ravi.
But it sounded
Yeah.
like Paul was saying Robbie.
He's a gladiator from India,
Yes.
and he's the doctor now.
Yeah, Ravi is very cute.
He's a year older than me, and Paul Mescal was teasing him, calling him old man.
We got to go
He
with
had
the
some
deep.
gray in his beard. I was like,
We got to give him a little black mascara.
I don't know how I feel about this.
Eyeliner.
But I enjoyed the twin emperors. I did read that they were going for Johnny Rotten and Sid Vicious with their styling, which I thought was a little low-hanging fruit, but you know, that's just me.
but cool that they are basing it off of real emperors by the same names. I mean, how much we borrow is the question, but
Well, isn't Marcus Aurelius the character that Richard Harris plays?
But Marcus
in
Aurelius
actual-
is
yeah.
just kind of
Yeah.
like a title, and it's like a whole
Sure,
thing.
right. But there was a Geta, and
Yeah, but these two, their characters were actually
they ruled at the same
yeah.
time.
They weren't twins, but they were brothers. And
Yeah.
they ruled concurrently, and one had the other one off.
And they didn't like each other.
Yeah.
They talk through, right, the mother or something.
But there's no evidence of a monkey.
Oh, the monkey.
There's no evidence of a monkey butler. In a little dress. I thought it was a lady monkey because it was in a little dress, but I mean...
And how come he only got the monkey when he was like really losing his mind?
I think it was there in an early scene, and then it just kind of wasn't... Yeah, but at the
Had
very
more,
end...
had
it
more
was
prominence.
We went to this movie with a friend of the podcast, Moran, who's going to be on later this month for
Moran.
one of the Christmas movie. Hi, Moran. But she got really excited when Fred named the monkey one of the senators.
Like second in command.
Second in command.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Over Denzel.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. The senators. Senator Thrax.
Senator
This
Thrax is
actor,
amazing.
Thrax, and
He's so familiar,
what's
right?
Denzel's? I think he's just kind of a British character actor. But
Denzel
It's
Mercutio.
Macronus.
Macronus.
Denzel and this actor, these scenes together, they're pretty good.
Macaroni.
Yeah, they're
Yeah, like
intense.
they work really well with each other.
Yeah, like you believe the relationship that exists there with this guy owing Denzel's character, Macronus, money, and that, just the relationship he has. It's intense.
So we should probably get into talking about Denzel Washington's character. I think Denzel Washington's doing some fine work in this movie.
Okay, are we willing to overlook the New York accent?
I think it's fine. It doesn't bother me.
There's so much I run with.
And I think that I read an interview.
All men want power.
I think I read an interview with Denzel of would I rather do my just kind of speaking voice or kind of add a New York accent, or am I just going to do a bad African accent?
Right.
Yeah, and he just opted to do kind of what came naturally.
I mean,
to him.
everybody else is doing a British accent, which is like they weren't even speaking with
Right.
British. So it's like if we're going to get there, it's like...
And if you're really going to be splitting hairs,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like no one's speaking English.
And he's like, I'm here for the game.
It kind of took me out of it. I think that it was over Maximus's like little shrine underneath the Colosseum that it's written in English.
Oh, yeah.
I think that maybe I would have chose just to put it in Latin.
Just write it.
I
in
kind of
Latin,
noticed
yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I think I just would have. I think the art director and me probably would have put it in Latin.
Yeah. I totally kind of felt that way too. I don't know. You guys have to tell me if it was just me. Sure. I with the percentage of the general audience that was really caught up in the way that Denzel was moving his robes around.
Yes.
It was almost like...
Another character.
No, it was the robes are the fifth Sex and the City girl. It was almost like it was his first time in the costume.
Sure.
And he was like, I can't get a handle on it. It had to be a choice. It's Denzel Washington. Like, come on. It had to be a choice. But it felt so like, what am I doing here? What is this? What is all this fabric?
But it's kind
He
of funny
couldn't
because
get a
I mean
hold on
Denzel
it.
comes from the theater
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Like I mean he's done like Othello.
So that's what I'm saying. It has to be a specific
On the
choice
stage,
that
yeah.
this man
Right.
that Monty Mort, what's his name?
Macronus.
Macronus. I keep wanting to say Comicus from History of the World.
Right.
You're a bullshit artist. Did you bullshit today? Yeah, it has to be something about the character, right?
Yeah.
Maybe because he's such a hustler, he's been hustling his way up the damn ladder, and now he's in this point where it's like, well, I got to wear these fucking robes if I'm going to be this this boss.
I was gonna say this former slave that works
But
his
he
way up to be an
just-
arms dealer,
yeah.
and
But he's just like, I still never got a hold of these goddamn robes, and I got to
all
wear
the
them.
rings and the earrings, and there's a lot of stuff there.
Yeah, because it was definitely
It was
like,
fascinating.
Yeah, because he's wearing the like tunic, but then there's like this like shawl aspect that goes over one arm and just kind of hangs over.
Yeah.
Doesn't really have a purpose, and he just kept fussing.
Especially when we're like sitting down.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, I was right there with you.
he does have to sit down a lot.
He
to
does.
speak.
And
it's a lot of sitting down.
there's a
and
line
standing
with
up.
this character that he prefers the company of men, right?
There is
No.
hints to. He hints to his bisexuality.
Yeah.
I don't know that that's the case, because the line was something about like women, right?
Oh right, and sometimes
and he's just like, sometimes I don't even prefer their company, and I took that to mean like fucking women, right? These pain in the ass. Like I took it to mean like how men are just like, I can't deal with
maybe
ladies right now.
that's just my tunnel vision.
No, but I think it was supposed to be that. But
also he was the character in this movie who is given the kiss and embraces, which is totally normal even to this day with Italians.
But isn't Denzel like super Christian though?
I don't know,
because I know he doesn't like do. I know he doesn't do like horror stuff because he's like not about like inviting the demons and all that. And I feel like he said some stuff about like certain movies being like demonic or whatever. And I'm like, I think he's like really Christian.
But see, I like to give Denzel at least with
credit. Yeah.
I mean,
for the early 90s.
Gay issues, because I don't know if you're doing stuff like Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Right.
If you have a problem with gay people.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I don't think any of us
I give Denzel the benefit of the doubt. Yeah.
And I don't think any of us at the table have seen The Piano Lesson yet, which his son is directing. But I believe that has some magical... witchy elements.
Okay.
I have not seen it.
Is there witchy elements to the play? I've never read the play.
Well, I don't know. Just looking at the trailer and
Siri's talking.
Oh,
never mind. Be quiet.
I have not seen it, but looking at the trailer and hearing about certain elements, I'm not sure how much he could be against certain darknesses.
Okay,
but yeah, I'm sure they're really a Christian family. And
yeah, I feel like I had seen that somewhere, but that may have been 30 years ago, so I could be completely talking out of my behind.
But yeah, I think that I think this movie needs this type of actor with this gravitas. I mean, this is a 90s movie star. It's Denzel Washington. So I think that a role like this kind of needs an actor like Denzel.
Yeah, like
if kind of
commanding presence if we're feeling a little, sleepy or otherwise, this person comes in, can kind of charge things up. Yeah, certainly having fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wine. More wine.
More wine. The way he looked at the servants and stuff, he was like, oh my God.
And even the cuts they choose, the editor, editor and Ridley, just the way that they would focus on certain looks with him, what they would choose to keep in was really interesting.
Yeah, very interesting take on the character. Very fun performance. And yeah, I think the movie and the marketing does a really good job of kind of not really cluing you in
doing a misdirect
where it's going, which I love because I do hate when marketing kind of gives away
everything.
Yeah. And so, yeah, there's points where you're like, all right, he's going to help Lucius get his freedom.
And he does help him because what Lucius wanted was
That's true. He got him.
He wants ideally the entire Roman army, but he'll take the general though.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And he does give him that.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. That's true.
Do we want to talk a little bit about the big centerpiece fights of this movie? I mean, it's on all of the ad campaigns. You're going to see a man ride a rhino. You're going to be seeing boat battles. What were your favorites of all of those?
I was going to say, they give a piece of all three of the major animal moments.
I don't think that there's a lot of the baboons
a moment
in the trailer,
I think we saw
right?
A moment of monkey scream, I think.
Okay.
But, at least in one of the trailers. But you know what? I was fascinated by this idea that they would flood the Colosseum and reenact certain battles. You do have your historians have different thoughts about the use of sharks, and
the sharks I did not know were there.
And when you look into it, it's not that those may have happened in other places in other battles.
Sure, right. Something that maybe
we're taking elements.
Maybe a little mini Colosseum that was closer to the water.
So the thing was, it's that they would. I know, but I mean, from what I've read, this is 2,000 years ago. I think they would mostly dig pits for it, and they were really big, twice the size of the Colosseum floor.
Oh, so you could really flood it.
So they could really flood it, and they could really get ships in there, and that the Colosseum, while big, they are pretty sure they did it there, but when they did, the boats were barely moving.
Sure.
because it was so small.
It was more for the look.
That it was more for the look and the spectacle, and the boats are there and they're doing this battle, but they're barely like turning around.
It's not going to be like the tank at SeaWorld.
right. And maybe it would be like that. Actually, that's
So maybe in other places they could.
In other places and places that were closer, like to the bay and to like to the sea, they would dig these actual big like pits, and they were specifically for that. And that's where the bigger battles were done.
I'm fine with them taking creative liberties
Oh,
for a movie.
Yeah.
Because also, like me and you were talking about, Scott, like the Coliseum's not this big.
Yeah. They were taking
Especially
liberties
in
from
the
the beginning.
first one.
Yeah.
In the first one, it looks fucking huge. The first looks like the Rose Bowl. It looks like SoFi Stadium.
Not to brag, but I've been to the Coliseum.
And
I mean,
mid.
I was
It was mid.
I was just immediately thinking of Gladiator when I stepped in it.
Yeah. But when you look at, the floor is gone.
Yeah.
You see underneath where all the gladiators are
Where all the gladiators were, and
Yeah.
probably where they kept like
because
all
there's
of
no
the
floor anymore.
lions and tigers and stuff.
But when you look at where the floor would be, that doesn't look like as big as
you-
here, right? I mean, at least, I don't know. When I see photos of it, I'm just like,
What did we learn in the trivia last night? They took out the iron out of the sides of the wall.
yeah.
Mined the iron out of that.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
why the walls fell down. Crazy.
they were full of holes pretty fast.
Yeah, but I mean, for a movie like this, you're going to exaggerate and you're going to make it a little bit bigger. I think in the Mummy movies, like the pyramids are like 3 times the size. Of
Yeah,
like what
you're
they're supposed to look like.
you're having fun taking liberties from the get-go. Yeah.
I don't think that. Would you rather be in a Coliseum death match with a baboon that's going to bite your face off, or a rhino?
I don't want the monkeys.
Yeah, those baboons were.
I mean,
Crazy. They looked diseased. That one was like had alopecia, like
we have more of a chance to do our magic
and dodge.
dust.
Throw
like-
the dust in the rhino's face, like big lumbering
I mean,
creature.
it's scary, but
Yeah. But I think I'll take whatever it was that ripped Queen Amidala's like little suit in half when she was in the
from Attack
when
of the
she
Clones.
was in the arena. Yeah, I'll take that.
I mean, Scott, I'm not lasting a day. I'm barely
No,
lasting a
yeah.
week in Rome. A day,
Sure.
you know, it's like
you're the guy with the compound fracture who walked out there and just like just come eat me, baboon. I don't have time for this.
I mean, I'm just here for the games. I'm up in the state. I'm up, spectator watching.
You're up in the very left-hand
Yeah.
corner.
Just get me away from it.
I mean, that's the crazy thing about like ancient Rome, like being like a free person, being like a citizen, as opposed to not being a citizen and being like a slave. Or
What's
like,
your daily life?
What? Like, how do you? Is it just a luck of the draw? Just like how whatever status you were born into? Like, I don't know. That's crazy.
Well, I take it that probably slaves were people from conquered nations that were just brought there too.
Right, right. A lot of that.
Yeah. But it just seems like, well, how come those people get to just be in the stands and just cheer and throw lettuce?
And like, I don't know, you do find yourself asking these questions like, was it hard to get in here? You know, could the poor get up and watch? You know,
yeah, like who's going? You have to buy tickets. Is it like going to?
Is it just like a free for all?
a soccer game? Like a
is it a lottery?
We're open up the doors at
Alley
like
Galaxy?
11 a.m.
If you're there, you're there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I would imagine to some degree they were for everybody.
Right. To some degree, yeah. I think you're right.
I don't think I would want to piss off that crowd.
Well, clearly, unlike most straight men, we do not think of the Roman Empire every day. Because
No.
maybe some people would have answers to these questions.
no, but I gotta tell this that I remember sitting in 6th grade. We had a Latin class, and it was only like year of school that I had this.
Wow, yeah.
But this kind of this brushing over the gay aspect,
Sure.
was so interesting at age 12 to be like the teacher's going over it and talking about daily life, and the men were married to a woman, but then kind of quickly saying, but there were boys on the side.
I remember taking a philosophy class when I was a
You could
freshman.
find one that looked enough
in
like your
college,
wife.
and our instructor in that class really nailed that in hard. They were fucking boys,
Right.
And just sitting in class, just being like,
Oh.
oh my god,
Ah!
oh my god.
That's scandalous. That's wrong.
Oh, goodness
But
gracious.
yeah, but like trying to explain to a 6-year-old,
Not that we're laughing.
no.
I remember.
not at all.
I always remember getting really excited for whenever they would mention the Roman baths and just being like, "That seems like a fun time."
Yeah.
Well, in 8th grade, we watched Spartacus.
Ooh.
Which was a moment. But yeah, just this kind of, as he quickly brushed through it,
Yeah.
being like, wait, what was that part about? Because you're not elaborating on that.
Right. Yeah, I mean that's history in U.S.
That's history,
public
folks.
school system.
That's history, folks.
Yeah, that's how we teach history to our kids, children.
And we're of the area, for some of us, that we kind of watch too many movies. Nowadays, it's much harder for teachers to do it. Schools face, greater, repercussions about movie rights.
Oh.
But in my day, I don't know about
They were just showing
showing
anything.
no.
all the time.
I'm pretty sure that we watched Gladiator in band class.
Watch Gladiator, Spartacus. I mean,
Yep.
Speaking of Denzel, we watched Glory in class.
We watched Sister Act in religion class one year. And remember when you would watch a movie in school and class and it would take like 3 days?
Yeah.
To like
Love.
finish a movie. And somebody was like, they had just attempted to start like a choir at an all boys Catholic high school, predominantly Latin, and it was not going so well. And the choir director, teacher, moderator, or whatever, was trying to drum up interest. And so one week we're watching Sister Act, and on day 2, somebody raised their hand and was just like, "Why are we watching this?" And he said, "Inspiration."
It's a movie about
that
faith.
was it.
One of our old episodes. Yeah.
And I was like, "Okay, so you want us to join the choir? Not going to happen."
Yeah, hey kid, calm down. We're gonna learn about Reno and casinos.
And purple mink.
Purple mink.
That's all I want to learn about.
It's purple mink, Dolores.
But
You be quiet over there.
I never thought about schools thinking about rights issues with showing movies.
Yeah, it's different now.
That's crazy. That's the woke agenda. Is what that
well,
is. That's woke.
well, do you have to pay it? I guess that for private schools, I guess you pay an admission to get in.
Yeah. See, that's where it
that's
gets-
weird.
And we
I'm
weren't
not buying it.
And we weren't kids. We didn't have kids like rattling out teachers as much for anything.
Sure, absolutely. Well, do you remember a few years
you
ago when there was
kids these
some like PTA fundraiser, and a big part of the fundraiser is that the parents were doing fundraising and the kids were watching the Jon Favreau Lion King, and Disney gave them a fine for all of that. And then I think that Disney ended up walking back all of that.
Yeah, they did.
It was too public. Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Crazy times.
Gladiator 2 I could see being shown when I was going to high school. Mhm. It could be shown in history class.
Yeah.
My
accurate.
history teacher would at least probably just show clips of the Colosseum scenes.
Right.
Yeah.
There'd be a uber violent moments. It'd be the teacher gets up and stands in front of the screen, right?
Yeah. Oh man, that's interesting. All right. So we talked a little bit about the. Hey, what's his name from the Hound from Game of Thrones? He's in this movie.
Was he
Oh,
there?
sure, he is in this movie. Who does he play?
Rory McCann. It says
Rory McCann.
it just says his character's name, but I think he led the Praetorian Guard.
Oh,
I think he was the one that's Denzel was like, you take them and go to the gate of the city.
Yes.
Because they're going to destroy
Gets his
it.
face time toward the end of
Yeah.
this film.
Yeah, yeah. I think he was that guy. But I was looking at this right now going, who the hell? That was interesting. We were talking a little bit about which animal would we like to fight in the arena?
Right.
Okay, arena stuff. Flooding of the Colosseum.
I think all of them were pretty well done scenes. I had fun with all of them.
Yeah.
the little tiger callback.
Mm-hmm.
That they're still down there.
Sure.
Still down there.
So like a tiger like wrangler that just works there. It's his job. He's like the rancor like wrangler. He just loves the tigers.
Yeah.
Even though they try to eat him.
And also, you gotta, for convenience factor, you gotta love the fact that Maximus does have this shrine.
Yeah.
You
That
know,
was cool.
of all the gladiators.
That was cool.
And I know it's
Yeah.
only been 20-something
What
years.
we do in this lifetime echoes in eternity.
Eternity.
And that has just kind of turned into this, like, I mean, probably in the universe of Gladiator II, it's just like a saying that people say because of
Yeah.
Maximus.
Yeah. Okay, I have a question because again, I'm not as super familiar of like the nitty gritty of the original. Was there graffiti in Rome in the original movie?
I don't remember.
I don't remember graffiti being
Because there was graffiti in this movie.
It's a nice piece of production design. I like that.
Because it's real.
Yeah.
There is ancient Roman graffiti.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
like there's graffiti on everything. Like
Yeah.
there's that one chair that's like this like throne of like England or whatever. That's like the main throne. It's like this wooden, like really old decrepit chair. And there's like graffiti on it that like
For a
other
good time.
kings have like carved into it, and like it got loose once, and like there's shit. So
For a good time call.
Yeah. And in the cells, there was a lot whenever they would go to Lucius, like in his little cute boudoir, there would be a lot like just carved into the walls. And then there was a scene at night where they were just kind of like walking through the streets, like around the Colosseum, and then there was some like on the walls, like big like letters, like look like painted onto the walls. That was graffiti. And so I thought that was a nice touch because that's like this real thing that they've seen in like archaeological sites that they would write things like that. And some of it would be just people's names, some of it would be crude things, some of it would be whatever. But
I love those production design aspects that are
was
carried
super
over.
cool.
You know, even the interior stuff with fountains and the fish that we saw in the first and second with Connie Nielsen's character.
Connie's little courtyard.
Little courtyard.
With those freaking birds.
It's cute.
Were they birds or were they like butterfly? I don't know. But they were like fluttering around.
Well, she had those. I mean, are they like?
Those Afghans or
Those
whatever.
Afghans,
dogs.
yeah.
I think those are Afghans. Those white ones. Yeah.
I don't know how many billowing curtains I caught in this one. Definitely in the first. But I'm with you, Pete. I love those production design aspects that are so detailed.
Yeah.
I also love the fact that in ancient Rome, at least as we are made to believe, that there's such a proximity to everything that yes, they have a place where they escape back to the palace or whatever, you know, through their box. But
right.
But the fact is, the violence is right outside.
Yeah.
That the stuff is right there. There's not some big security.
No.
You know, the stuff is happening right outside your door, and I
Dangerous.
Yes, I like how that kind of maintains through both films. That it feels right there.
So when you watch the original movie, I guess like this goes for both of you, but mainly you, Josh, because you're more familiar with it. I thought it was pretty clear that Lucius in the original movie, played by a different actor, who is still working, by the way. Like he was just in the Salem's Lot remake. Spencer
Treat Clark, is that right?
Spencer Treat Clark. I remember the same year that he made Gladiator, he was in not Glass. I meant Unbreakable. He's Bruce Willis's son in Unbreakable, and they bring him back in the sequels for Split and Glass. Or I mean, I think it's mainly
So
Glass.
M. Night brought him back, but Ridley said
yeah, but they recast
not cute
him.
enough. So he's got his variety. He's got his like his periodicals. He's opening up variety. He's like Paul Mescal to star in Gladiator 2.
Ain't that some shit? Playing Lucius.
Well, fuck my drag.
And then got an interesting credit. And I don't know if there's something archival used
Did it
briefly.
Did it
but
say?
I think there's a few shots that are lifted from the movie.
yeah, so that he did get the
Because there
final
was
credit.
another little boy
Yes.
that they got new footage.
A
Because
new
they
little boy,
they
yeah.
do what directly happens to
Right,
Lucius
right.
when Maximus dies.
Yeah, so they had to cast a new
They
little
usher him right
Yeah.
out of the Colosseum, and he goes.
So they
to,
got a little lookalike kid.
a new little Lucius.
Yeah. Okay. Which I was like, okay. And that so I'm looking for him how he's credited in this. What's his name?
The original
The original kid. yeah.
Spencer Treat Clark.
Spencer Treat Clark. Okay.
But yeah, they had to get a new.
Maybe it's under crazy credits.
Okay, so I think my question was, I always thought it was pretty obvious who Lucius's father was. That I never even read it as kind of subtext. I thought it was pretty obvious that it was Maximus. And I've always thought that.
I thought so too. Now, obviously, the Lucius character is not, given this information, but we as a viewer,
right.
I feel like you're right. I feel like it's so heavily implied.
You kind of know that Maximus and Lucilla have had a thing.
Exactly. That there's a good chance. There's a lot they do with just looks and overall vibe that you do get that impression. I would say so. I think what you're probably getting to is that it's kind of funny how Paul Mescal being cast in this role and even them being upfront with it was considered some sort of spoiler.
Yeah.
When you
it's there in the original movie. You just have to be paying attention.
Yeah. No, I agree. You definitely kind of think that.
Okay, so it's not on Spencer's IMDb as actor or archive footage.
Okay,
so that's
even though we saw the
credits. We saw it. We literally
and they may update. Yeah.
It's the very last name in the cast list.
I just want to know if Spencer got some sort of a paycheck.
But
yeah,
I hope he did.
I just saw his name. I didn't see specifically if it said young Lucius, if it said it said after.
Do they credit a new Lucius?
They did. They credited the new one,
Okay.
the different one. But on Spencer Treat Clark's IMDb, the most recent thing is Salem's Lot.
Yeah.
And when you look at archive footage, it's not there either. So I don't know if maybe it's under like a thanks or something. But or also too, sometimes IMDb it is very recent.
Yeah, the cast list right now is only 44 people.
Yeah,
there's definitely more than 44 people in this movie.
Those things do get updated as time goes on, as movies are out longer. So that could be updated on
But
IMDb.
Spencer Treat Clark, we love you. I enjoyed you in the Weird Al Yankovic story.
Yeah, it was really good.
Right. He's one of Weird Al's bandmates.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay.
Pete and I liked the Salem's Lot remake.
I
had a good time with it.
I'll watch it.
I thought he was good in that movie.
Yeah, he had a fun little role there. I enjoyed it. I would watch it again. I want to see it again.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, he's. I hope he wasn't just like, well, fuck my track.
I hope he's okay.
I hope he got a little a note from Ridley, just like you know how it is.
And it is nice to be credited in some way.
Yeah, and he did get an actual credit in the list. We saw it with our own two eyes.
We're hoping for that royalty check, Spencer.
Yes. All right, so we haven't talked too much about Pedro and this role, this character.
You kind of thought this role was a little underwritten.
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know that it was underwritten. I think I kind of liked. I think I was just so wrapped up in the fact that they kind of gooped us in the
because Pedro and Connie are kind of leading this resistance to the two twink emperors that are running Rome into the ground.
They are lovers.
Yep.
I did think though that when maybe not underwritten, but maybe gone too soon. I don't know. I was kind of like, that was it. Like he's gone now.
It was kind of a big gag.
It was a big gag. I was like, whoa. Okay.
And he's such a catalyst for the whole reason of what happens in any of this movie. And I know this whole podcast is a spoiler, but
yeah.
But that character being the catalyst for the end of something that Lucius loves. It is so important. Him leading that army in. Is so integral to Lucius's future.
Right, yeah.
That you really, he's going to have his moment with him. But it is interesting how it plays out.
Yeah, and I think the trailers really kind of try to lead you to believe that moment that he has with the gladiator on the rhino is Pedro, because it's the back of his head and he's got the double swords. And I think they kind of cut it together in the trailer as if that's him. And I'm like, well, we know how Pedro goes out. It's like, oh, that wasn't him.
That wasn't.
That was a little switcheroony.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting character. Pedro's kind of diction when he's doing these, like, I'm like, all right. See, that's the thing. That's where we get into this, like, well, do you just do your regular voice? Do you do... He's not putting on an accent, but he's also kind of speaking in a very, like, deliberate kind of diction that...
Does Pedro speak with an accent really
No.
anymore? Because, I mean, he's lived in America
His
for
entire life.
His entire life.
like, since he was, like, a toddler. So
Yeah.
he doesn't have an accent.
But you're right. It's an interesting thing where so many are doing British and
Yeah.
Paul's never being Irish.
Yeah. Pedro just speaks with an American accent. And it's, in Game of Thrones and in a lot of things he has to do like a Latin accent.
It has a regal air. to it.
And he's not doing a Latin accent in this movie, but he is doing a very, like, I don't know, just the way his diction is. It's very specific. And,
Yeah, he's making himself proper.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was interesting, but I did it. I enjoyed his character, and when I saw where it was going, I was like, okay, we like this guy. He's not all bad.
Yeah.
I'm seeing that this is Denzel Washington's first supporting role since Antoine Fisher.
When was that?
Normally, when Denzel Washington is in movies, he's the lead in movies.
Interesting.
Will Smith style.
Antoine Fisher. Yeah. There's not
Didn't
many
you direct
ones.
Antoine Fisher too?
What?
Didn't you direct that movie?
That sounds like it
Antoine
could be
Fisher,
right.
I think so.
That could be
He
right.
did. He did it indeed.
And interesting, given you saying that this movie opening last weekend, folks, will be the highest opening for both Denzel and Ridley Scott.
Yeah, I mean, that's about right.
It's just so interesting. We don't think of this time as some sort of box office boom.
Yeah.
But for the two of them, for this project,
I mean, this movie
it will be.
I mean, we already know these answers, but I'm assuming that it's tracking for over 50.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just so interesting, when you see such careers.
Sure. Like, you just assume that Denzel's had a $80 million opening weekend
Right.
somewhere in his career, and then you think about his filmography, and you just kind of are like, oh, well, maybe not.
Yeah. Or even Ridley in the, Steady Builds or whatever movie was.
Ridley Scott's career also very fascinating post-Gladiator career. Like I mentioned before, I feel like he's been chasing the success of this movie since it came out.
Yeah.
That, I mean, he's had big wins with stuff like The Martian, and he's also had big loses, too, with something like, what was a bust release? Exodus, Gods and Kings.
What's that random one people I haven't seen? It's like Fassbender in it?
Oh, The Counselor?
Yeah, The Counselor.
The Counselor's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So you've never
No,
seen
I've
The
never
Counselor?
seen The Counselor.
There's a really great scene that's a death scene of Brad Pitt.
Okay.
That's really fun in that movie.
Okay.
The Counselor is also just utter trash, but I think that everybody in that movie knows what it is, so it makes it a little more fun to watch.
Yeah. It's interesting how he wants to gravitate toward, some of his old style, but also like wanting to latch onto like true stories, even if it's like Patrizia Reggiani or
he's been making a movie, sometimes 2 movies a year, and he's in his 80s.
Yep.
And he's not stopping. He's going to be making that Bee Gees movie.
and a new one with Paul, which
Yep.
may come first because the Bee Gees movie apparently had a little studio interference. Surprise, surprise, nobody.
Yeah.
But working with Paul again.
Oh, remember The Last Duel? When was the last time anybody talked about that movie?
I like The Last Duel.
I did too.
Mhm. I thought The
did
Last Duel was
too.
really well done.
Yeah, Ben and Matt.
I remember
Back
we
together.
saw The Last Duel, I think the weekend that Halloween ends. I think it was Halloween Ends was out.
It was 2021.
That we saw both of them opening weekend.
Sure, sounds right.
You were excited to be back at the movies, just
Yep.
living your best life.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's Ridley Scott, man. It's like he can do whatever the
He's
fuck
a
he wants.
beast. He's a beast. In
So
his mid-80s,
okay,
going.
the one that I just said right now, The Last Duel was also a period movie, and we have Napoleon, but
It happened.
yeah, but I feel like Exodus, Gods and Kings, being that it's set where it's set, had a lot of backlash because of the casting.
Yep. And a type of studio biblical epic that was probably long since out of fashion when they made it. Yeah.
Right. But I mean, a cool take on the material.
Sure. I mean, I think that we sometimes just put on
Yeah.
the Red Sea scene.
Cool.
Just
yeah.
because
it's
I just love how that scene looks
Yeah.
and is photographed.
Really cool.
Yeah, but I mean, so for a a sword and sandals and a big epic like this,
He still made it happen.
he still and I think the casting was successful in this movie.
Yeah.
Right. Even though there's mostly like
He got his it boys of the moment.
people in it,
Big
but-
eyeliner budget.
Yeah, big old eyeliner budget, big lots of shawls. But I think that as far as the casting, it's a little bit more. Hasn't been a whisper of
No.
whitewashing,
Not all.
or
Yeah.
anything like that. I mean, maybe because it is set in Europe as opposed to Northern Africa, but still, I think they did a good job with a lot of the cast in this.
But what happened to Juba? Jaimin Hansu? What happened to
Was
him?
our question.
I wonder if that character was in earlier versions of the script and they just kind of gave up on him. Maybe.
Yeah.
That okay, because that other
went away.
character from 300, his character's name is Jubartha.
Okay.
Not supposed to be him, right?
Yeah,
I hope not.
Yeah,
No, it can't be.
He got monkeyed out.
Yeah, because that couldn't be the same character. No, weird. But yeah, we were kind of commenting on Jaimin Hansu.
Jaimin.
And I feel like
playing versions.
he's
of that
been
character.
playing the same 3 versions of one character his entire career, but I guess it's worked out for him. 2 Oscar nominations
In America.
and Blood Diamond.
Yeah,
Yep.
so interesting. Yeah, he would have been coming into Gladiator pretty hot with some Golden Globe nominations for Amistad for Spielberg.
Yep.
And yep.
Probably just narrowly missed that Oscar nomination.
Yep.
Was he being run in lead?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Probably a little hard for him to crack lead.
Newcomer, yeah.
At that time. Yeah.
I don't know if you want to talk about the
I know one thing that I want to kind of wrap up this conversation with. That kind of fun reason to cover it on our show. So when I got home from work, I put on Liz Taylor presenting the Best Picture Drama category at the Golden Globes. Watching old Golden Globes ceremonies is a trip because it is like a moment. It is a snapshot in time of just seeing everybody in that room in the Beverly Hilton
Trash.
and just like who's pushing what, who's nominated for movies that you've forgotten about. Does anybody remember the Ray Fiennes movie Sunshine that ended up in Best Drama?
You got all
I sure don't.
You got all the TV thrown
You get
in
all
there.
of the TV
Everyone's
thrown in
just
there.
drunk.
Al
And-
Pacino looked normal.
for once. Yep. And they get. I mean, the thing about the Hollywood Foreign Press will always like it. They'll always get out the stars, and they got Liz to present Best Drama Picture.
Yes.
And
Throughout the evening, we've seen clips from the 6 nominated films. Now, it's time to find out which one will take home the Golden Globe. Once again, here are the nominees. Let me see. For the motion picture drama.
She starts opening the envelope.
yeah, and the audience starts talking.
What? I don't open this? I just read it from up there. I'm new at this.
Is this when Dick Clark is coming
I
out?
usually like to get them.
Yeah.
What? Hello.
We don't want. We don't
No,
want to
I read it
lose
from
the
here.
suspense.
What
we
is
must
this
read the
for?
nominees first.
What's this? Oh, I see. Elizabeth. Billy Elliot. Aaron Brockovich. Gladiator.
Whistles.
Yep.
Sunshine. Traffic. Wonder Boys. And the winner is a flashing envelope. Gladiator!
I mean,
Liz, we'd love you.
is this why they don't read the nominees anymore? Like, they never read the nominees anymore, the presenters. It's always pre-recorded.
Well, and also,
They just stand there and then they read the winner.
Golden Globes don't show clips, too. I think that they just present. They have actors come out and present all of the Best Picture nominees, I guess.
A lot of chatter.
A lot of chatter.
A lot of
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's why we love Liz.
Whatever cocktail she was on,
Mm-hmm.
it was good.
She looked great.
Mm-hmm.
Jeff
Bridges introduced her.
Introduced her, and he was like, "Liz Taylor." He was so
Dame
proud.
Liz Taylor. Dame Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah, he was so proud.
Barakovich.
Yeah. Aaron. It was almost like she wasn't going to be able to pronounce it, and then she like went in hard with a Barakovich.
We'll always love Liz, our gay rights champion.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, gays, get your shit together. If you don't know Liz Taylor, like, come on. She's
Yes.
one of the reasons that like AIDS research
Is
ever got any money. Yeah, exists. Yeah.
Best friends with Michael Jackson.
I mean,
Have you ever seen that video of Liz and I think I've sent it to you. It's Liz and Michael on Christmas morning opening up squirt guns.
I think
Super
you did.
soakers.
You
and
did
super
send this to me.
soakers because Liz wanted to give them like a proper Christmas morning.
You did send this
It's
to me.
unhinged. It's the type of energy that needs to be in this Michael Jackson movie,
Yeah.
which will
not be there.
Yeah.
Right.
Who's gonna play Liz? I hope it's Rachel Dratch.
Yeah, I used to love Rachel Dratch.
White diamonds,
Liz.
Michael.
Might die.
It was like the perfect. It was kind of the perfect Liz Taylor illusion too. It's like it's Liz from the '90s with like the big hair.
The white hair, yeah. They eventually transitioned into Liz with the white hair. Remember
Those
when she went
commercials.
full silver? Yeah,
Those commercials were everything. They were
the
on
the
all the
actual
time.
White Diamonds
Yeah.
commercials. They were on a lot.
A lot.
It was good, and it would go from like White Diamonds into like Egoist or like a weird like Chanel, like people, a man in a black Speedo jumping into a pool,
Yeah.
like at like Hearst Castle,
Yes.
like hawking like.
I definitely remember blowing curtains
Yeah.
Yes, yes,
in black and white.
very Adrian Lyne.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine a Liz Taylor pool party back in the day?
I mean, I want to
can't
go over to
imagine
Liz
Liz
Taylor's
Taylor
house to watch Gladiator. Do you think that she had that like for your consideration night going up to the Oscars?
Probably. I mean, some of these people makes you wonder. You know.
Was Liz keeping up with the movies at that point? Was she just like, what? Come, you can come over if you want. I don't know what's going on.
I'll be like running in and out with my dogs.
There's a TV somewhere in here, but you know.
I mean,
Here's the remotes.
we have an illusion of like what we would be, but the reality is, you and I are probably like Kirsten Dunst, who's like, I watch every movie. I'm an Oscar voter.
yeah,
Yeah.
We take it very seriously.
yeah. Liz, on the other hand, she's just like, oh,
I love her.
Yeah.
I feel like Liz would probably give her ballot to her like hairdresser to fill out.
Yes.
Of just like just whoever you think.
Yeah, back when
Or she would have like her ideas of who people were, but kind of be off a little bit, like Sheryl Lee Ralph in Abbott Elementary. She kind of gets everybody's names wrong.
Yeah.
She's like, oh yeah, I love them. And they're like, that's not the person
She
you
refers to
think.
Kate Winslet as Kathy Wingate.
Kathy Wingate.
That's a little inside joke for people.
Yeah, love it.
But the real paper ballot. None of this new electronic hub stuff. Yeah.
Oh,
The real,
okay,
you know.
See?
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I didn't
The real
know that was a thing.
The real deal.
Tried to find Molly Shannon on SNL reenacting
What was
it, but I couldn't do it.
What was the sketch for that?
it was
it
Update.
Okay.
It wasn't even a sketch.
She came on
It
for
was
Update.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They were just like, oh, here's Liz Taylor.
I mean, Rue and Michelle say it. on Drag Race on the runway.
They
so
do.
it just kind of has this like niche gay fan base now.
Well, at the time it was big. At the time it was like a big joke. It was, late night.
Elizabeth.
Yeah. She looked super cute that night.
Yeah,
she
she
had
looked
like
good.
this cool like empire waist dress and like a high pony. Like she looked really cute. It was a very like her hair was very 60s kind of.
It was a good
young and
it was a
flirty.
good time of elderly Liz Taylor that she was probably pretty active and you could actually get her out to events like this too.
Right.
Having some fun,
Yeah.
Yeah. And she just had a couple of cocktails before. It's the Golden Globes. It was the end of the night. It was Best Picture.
And honestly, since then, we've seen plenty of sloshed.
Yeah. So, love the Globes. I always say this. I remember when they were on basic cable.
Do you remember when they were on like
Remember when they were on TBS?
TNT or
Yeah.
TBS? Yeah. I think I remember that too.
Yep.
I have watched the Globes with you guys. At
Yes,
your
indeed.
old
We
apartment.
always have a Golden Globes viewing
We
party.
try to have a Golden Globes
They're never canceled in our household. But I mean, with this with the new membership now, it's like I don't think that we're gonna get the quirky Golden Globe wins now like what there used to be when the voting was just over 100 people.
Oh, sure.
And if you had enough people vote for Aaron Taylor Johnson for Nocturnal Animals, he could fully win.
They wanted him because he's hot.
I mean, Aaron Taylor Johnson is pretty hot.
We're salmon fishing in the Yemen.
Yeah.
The tourist.
How do you think Gladiator 2 will do awards-wise? Do you think
know
it'll
what?
make it into Best Picture?
Scott, it is a tough-ass call.
I think it's pretty tough. If you probably asked me a few weeks ago, I would say it's going to make it in no problem. But I don't know anymore.
I think it's hovering.
I think it's hovering. I think that at least I underestimated how good Wicked is going to do awards-wise, that maybe those nominations will just go to Wicked. If we're going to put another huge blockbuster in with Dune Part 2, it's going to be Wicked.
Right. And even in funkier branches like the directors, because they didn't go to Villeneuve the first time around for Dune 1, are you going to go to Dune 2 and Gladiator 2? Probably not.
Yeah.
So you're going to, those guys are, and women, are going to make their choice. But, it is such an insular, pickier
Ridley Scott's never
branch. And he's never won.
won Best Picture, but he was not a producer on Gladiator, so he does not have an Oscar on his
Such a
shelf.
bummer.
Yep.
But no, I think it will linger. I think Denzel's, fun camp performance has very high potential to get in. Production design,
Costumes, Genty Yance. I
Yeah,
think that
she's
been
liked.
She's been working with Ridley
forever.
I mean, at this point since Gladiator in 2000. I don't know.
It'll be interesting to see how far it stretches.
It'll be interesting to see how it shakes down. I'm always rooting for Paul to get a second Best Actor nomination.
He's your boy, and at the same time, at 28,
it's probably not going to happen. He has
great-
another.
you're saying
He has
he's too old?
another.
Put him out to pasture.
He has another.
great stuff ahead.
He has more nominations left in him. I
Yes,
don't
yes,
think
that's what I
it's
mean, yeah.
going to be for Gladiator Part 2. I do think Ariana Grande is going to get nominated. I think supporting actress this year, it's a pretty wide open race that you could easily stake your claim for one of those 5 slots. And I think that it's the type of showy performance that audiences will like to see in that category.
And for our real Oscar nerds who listen to your show, if Paul Mescal or Timothée Chalamet this year get in at age 28 and 29, and they were to win, they would be the youngest winner ever.
How old was
Right.
Adrian Brody? Was he 29?
Just beating Adrian Brody by months. Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was 30.
He was 29.
Richard Dreyfuss was 30.
Yeah. That probably is right.
Yeah.
Adrian Brody was the youngest at 29.
Yeah, and
So
beat
interesting
Richard
when you
Dreyfuss.
just kind of look at, all the sexism in Hollywood. Younger actresses usually end up with the Oscar nominations
J-Law
and wins.
and Emma, yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
A lot of young ingenues. It's true.
Yeah, Best Actor never goes to a young man.
Yeah. We can call ordinary people, and that was fraud, but,
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Well, I think it's probably time to wrap this bad boy up.
Joshua, thank you so much for this Gladiator conversation. I mean,
again.
I feel like in terms of our show, I think that, this is a movie about, a bunch of dudes, gladiators. It doesn't get gayer. It doesn't get gayer than that. I always think of that episode of The Golden Girls where Sophia is talking about Phil and how he couldn't stop watching those gladiator movies. So fun movie for us to cover. I always love an opportunity to talk about a new movie that is just in the theaters. And our Wicked episode might have to wait until next year when both movies are out.
Yeah, it was fun to see this with you guys.
Yeah, that was a good time. We still have our smelly foam fingers in the other room. But yeah, thanks for coming on. This was a blast, and we'll probably be back very soon talking about Oscar stuff. So until then, listeners, don't go anywhere. We will be right back. Listeners, we are back. Thank you for sticking around.
We made it through Galicked 2024.
We sure did. And we're still here.
We're still here.
Tell the tale. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we're wrapping up our final thoughts on part 2.
Are you going to keep that on the soundboard?
I think I might keep it on the soundboard.
We didn't use it a lot during the episode.
No, we didn't.
We need to give that audio drop some good plays.
Yes, absolutely. We'll have to sneak some more in the future. But for now, I think it's...
Is it that time?
It's probably time. Time for some Patreon shout-outs.
Let's hear them.
I want to say thank you to all of our wonderful active patrons over on Patreon.com, including, got a new one, Kaiken, Kelsey, Andrew, Stephen, Vanessa, Leah, SB, Ashanti, Brian, Sarah, Richard, Mark, Jeff, Deja, Amy, Erica, Anna, Mitchie, our friends at How Do You Drew podcast, Andy, Kate, Pep, Roberto, Daisy, Kelly, Chrissy, Stephen, Laura, Thomas, Lori, Brenna, Jess, Rabbit, Lawrence, Lisa, Thomas, Millie, Benny, Melanie, Susan, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Genevieve, Dawn, Josh, Aaron, Nick and Shannon, Christine, and Rufino.
Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for being patrons. We got tons of stuff over on patreon.com/movies that made us gay, like our TV that keeps us gay at the $5 level.
Yeah, at the $5 level, you will get the TV shows that keep us gay. Our Friends episode was just posted around the time this comes out, so you can listen to us talk about the Friends Thanksgiving episodes.
Yes.
And just Friends in general. It was a really fun one, so you'll get that at the $5 level.
Mm-hmm.
If you wanted to do the full $10 level, you'll get our Watch With Us commentaries where we put a movie on and chat about it. We did Hot Frosty with Lacey Chabert this month. We are living in the golden age of the Netflix Christmas movies. We've had
Christmas
3
universe
in a row, and we're talking about Hot Frosty on the Watch With Us commentaries.
Indeed. So check that out. That's $10 level. You got Watch With Us commentaries plus everything at the $5 level. All the TV that keeps us gay. And your wonderful shout out at the end of every episode. So check us out. Patreon.com/movies that made us gay. Really, really fun stuff going on over there. We'd love it if you would subscribe on your Patreon, or not our Patreon, sorry. Subscribe on your podcast listening app, wherever you listen to podcasts. Go ahead and give us a subscribe.
Give us 5 stars.
And give us 5 stars.
We would love to see it. If you write some kind words in a review or a comment, we will definitely read those.
Yes, indeed.
In an episode?
Yes, indeed. Apple Podcasts, you can write a review. And on Spotify. Spotify, you can write reviews, too. They're kind of hard to find. You can write them for individual episodes. I haven't seen much traction over there. They're mostly on Apple Podcasts. It's built right into your phone and your iPad, if you have one. The podcast app is there. Just search for Movies That Made Us Gay. So you can also find us on socials. We are at Movies That Made Us Gay on Instagram. We are most active there. So yeah, anytime you like or leave a comment or share or repost, all that engagement helps us to reach a larger audience. But we are on Blue Sky.
Yeah.
We are at MTMUG Pod on Blue Sky because, X, screw them. So we're over there, and we're on Threads as well.
Yeah.
So check
We're on
us
all of them.
out. We're on all of them. And all of all that engagement helps us reach a larger audience, and we love it. If you want to follow our personals, feel free. My name's Pete. I'm at Peter Lasagna on Instagram and Blue Sky now, but not really that active there.
I'm Scott Youngballer on Instagram, and follow my letterbox. I just upgraded to Patreon. Patron.
You're a patron on Letterboxd. You've got crazy controls, and it looks really cool. So check it out. Until next week, everybody, we will see you soon. Enjoy your Thanksgiving weekend.
Yes.
And we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Come on!